We're going to discuss isolated platforms today. Isolated platforms, I've used them a lot in the past, but typically I use a lot of continuous platforms or continuous ridges. And if I really want to do a good job, or if I want to drive a flake a lot further, what I'll do is I'll create these little isolated platforms like you see right here and right here. A lot of knappers will do this. I'm sure the old boys did it as well. And it just makes the process a lot more efficient. It takes a little bit of time to set these things up. It can take several minutes, but you don't have to do it with pressure flaking. You can do it all with your little boppers. You set these little platforms up, then you grab a bigger bopper if you need it, strike it, and you can get edge-to-edge flaking a lot of times if that's what you're after. And it definitely reduces the shock on a thin piece and reduces your chances of breaking the thing. And you can get a lot better biface out of it by doing that, but it does take time to do. You can also use it in the earlier stages like we have right here. We've got a ridge going right down here that I created by removing a flake here and here, and you always want your platform, especially if it's isolated, to be in line with these ridges. The only reason you really want to do it on an early stage big chunk like this is to get a really massive flake where you actually might get two tools out of this instead of one. If this flake came off and it's thick enough, it's going to be less chance that it'll break, and then you'll have that flake to make into a tool, and you'll still have a good part of the core. You might get two or three or more really nice big flakes out of this thing. If you take if you just go at it kind of opportunistically and just start removing flakes here and there willy-nilly, yeah, you'll get one big blade out of it, but you might improve your chances for using this thing efficiently by making isolated platforms. This is just a tab of Texas rock over here. This one here is not really in line with a ridge, but there's a lot of mass over in here, so I set up a little platform over here. And once you remove your first flake, you sort of establish a ridge, and there'll be a ridge here, and you can make another one, which you can strike either from here or here. You kind of go back and forth like that. So we'll go into that and show how you can make these things. I'm going to go ahead and strike this one that I just showed you. See if I can get a big flake to come off right down into here. Need to support it on my leg. Need to give it a lot of support so that the power of the billet actually goes into here and creates a nice crack that travels all the way. So we just put it on here on our leg, get it lined up. I want to drive it in. It broke on us, but it gives you an idea. It's a little bit thinner in the middle, or maybe it's just because this stone is kind of brittle, but did a good job of thinning it. Probably a lot better than taking several smaller hits. And these are actually big enough to utilize and make something out of. We'll try this one now. Got the platform set up right over here. I'd like for it to go right over in this area right here. Just as with smaller flakes, you don't want to press it down into your pad, because if you do, it's not going to travel as far. So I'm using my fingers here to kind of elevate it up off the pad just a little bit. This part can be in contact because there's just so much power there to lift that part of the flake, but not the back part where it feathers out. Try and drive it all the way in. Okay, went into here. We can actually come back, and we'll do that in a minute and drive some other flakes off. There's sort of a additional flake there from that first hit where I didn't hit it squarely. Okay, we'll do this. We'll go ahead and continue on with this one right here. What we'll do is we'll just kind of attack this edge here, and when we get to a point where we can create an isolated platform to remove a massive flake, we'll slow down and kind of go over how to do that. So what I want to do right now is just zigzag this edge just like you would with a slab to get a working edge. Probably set something up so we can drive a nice big flake off over in this direction, and maybe one here to go back in the other direction. Drop down a little smaller billet. This is the platform for removing these zigzagging flakes. You don't want to hit right on the edge. You want to hit right about there on these little flakes here. That's 1.25 inches. I'm going to drop down to a 1 inch so I can actually get it in there a little bit better. Tighter radius lets you hit it in these little areas that are hard to hit with a larger bopper. Okay, now we need to start thinking about setting up something to come in here. So we'll get this edge up in this direction right here. Okay, now we're getting our edge up in here. Let's put our platform right about in here. What we want to do is create a ridge so that our big flake, after we get our platform set up over here, can travel all the way over in this area right here. Just going to braid the edge a little bit, remove a few flakes right off of this edge right here. This is still a pretty early stage of reduction to be using isolated platforms, but it'll give you an idea. You always want to direct your flakes out away from your actual striking point when you're creating these things. I need to have that a little bit lower. See how it's sticking almost flush with the face here. You need to have it a little bit closer to the center line. You don't want it right on the center line. The closer you have it to the center line, the less far the flake will travel, although it will be a thicker flake. Okay, we're just creating a kind of a minor one here. We'll isolate a little bit more here. Notice how these are fanning out. These flakes were taken by striking in this direction, here and like that, always out on the bottom side or the face that you're going to remove in the flakes. When you come back over here to actually isolate this a little bit more, you strike in the opposite direction. You strike back toward one another. Just like in fluting, it helps this flake detach a little bit easier by having a little bit of a either flat or to have a little bit of a kind of a concavity there. Not too much of a concavity, because then the flake will be too thin when it actually does release. You want your braiding just on the point of impact. Yeah, we'll use a great big bopper here and try and drive it probably right over into here. Okay, so that flake went clear across, and pretty good demonstration of what an isolated platform can do. If it wasn't isolated, for sure it wouldn't have gone that far. At least not by me.